Without further ado, I'd like to bring up Barret Roberts, who's going to kick things off for us today. He's the VP and Head of Industry of CPG at Innovid, and Barret is going to be talking to you about navigating the CPG marketplace, advertising marketplace. So big, warm welcome for Barret. Barret?
Thanks, John. Happy to be here. Hi, Mike. So, welcome. How good does it feel to be in person, guys? I was at Shop Talk about a month ago, and that was 7,000. That was a little bit much, but this feels good. This feels like a good room. I like this. So thanks for being here, and I'm actually really excited to talk to you guys today. I'm actually insanely jealous of all of you, because I came from the agency side. I was an OMD working on PepsiCo business before moving to Unilever, working on the media side, before becoming a brand manager on Axe. Did some stints at Twitter and Pandora before coming over to the ad tech side. And I'm insanely jealous of you because you have all these tools at your fingertips, and I really wish I had them 10 years ago when I was a brand manager on Axe. What I'm going to talk to you about today, we all know it happened. COVID happened. It's happening. We got it. But it created a ton of disruption. And the byproduct that came out of that specifically for CPG obviously is a greater need for agility, right? Especially during a time when maybe we're not all sitting together, maybe org structures are in process of changing, perhaps supply isn't on shelf, maybe pricing is shifting as a result. But we'll make this entertaining, 10 minutes, and we'll go through it. Keep your phones out, because at the end, one of you will be the lucky winner of a 1-hour massage at the Sweetgrass Spa, if you're a CPG marketer, okay? Good. All right, so here we go. So Innovid, as you think about all the disruption that happened in going through COVID and what that looked like, there was a greater need for agility, but also to execute flawlessly at the same time. And in a lot of the audits that I was doing with CPG marketers, they had one provider that was doing ad personalization or DCO, they had one provider that was doing measurement, and then they had one provider that was doing ad serving. And you guys are all very smart, you know this. The more providers you have, the more wires are. The more wires need to be connected, the more room there is for breakage, right? So the really fun part of having this role and talking with CPGs right now is to be able to come to you with one ad tech enterprise solution that can work cross-channel, not only help you in terms of asset development, but personalizing those assets, making sure they're serving. We're independent. I don't sell media. I'm not going to talk to you about CPMs, at least today, and then measuring it on the back end. And we'll talk about some new announcements that have come out of that and what that looks like. So as you guys, if you think back like 20, 30 years ago, it used to be a very linear line, this image, right? It was the client told the agency what to do, the agency told the publishers what to do, and then they went and executed it, kind of a thing. Today's world looks much, much different. It's not cluttered. I definitely wouldn't use that word. But it needs room for organization, and that's exactly what Innovid does. We will sit with you, figure out who are your partners. Because we are the largest independent ad tech platform, we can work with all of your partners and what that looks like. And there's a few that are pretty important, usually, to your business. The good news is we can work with the likes of Amazon, Google, Meta, et cetera, and actually being able to create that connection between platforms and what that looks like. So if you're not familiar with Innovid, the spine of our business was really built on CTV, and they did a really good job of doing that on the front end. We're built into over 25 different SDKs and the likes of Hulu, Roku, CTV providers. And so what that's created for us is a solid base of 95 million homes in the US to build off of, right? Not only in the world of CTV, but then through identity, figuring out how do you then take that identity and make it omni-channel at the same time. The piece that's really important about this, think about a couple of meetings that are happening in New York this week around the upfront. CTV is projected to be a $20 billion business, right, for this coming year. For the first time ever, CTV is actually going to eclipse local TV, just in terms of scale and what this looks like, and is becoming a much more important part, as I'm sure you guys are all considering, not just how are you placing your linear dollars, but also placing your streaming dollars, and then looking for a consolidated view between the two. I was meeting with a CPG marketer last week that was talking to the second point of, I love the idea of being able to buy my broad adult 18 to 49 CPM, but then using the data signals and triggers that are built into the Innovid platform to be able to personalize ads, so that I'm seeing the Jewel ad in Chicago, New York is seeing Dwayne Reed, LA is seeing Bonds, just as they should, right? And within, as you look at the broader trends, specifically for what's happening in the world of CPG, they're kind of big issues. And I don't think these are gonna be new for you guys, but it's important to call these out. This is how we are also thinking about CPG and organizing our toolkit and our solutions so that we can have this conversation with you specifically about your business. The fact that perhaps CPG wasn't on shelf when people were reaching for it and knowing that. The fact that as you dig into a CPG's buys right now, we're actually finding more often than not the largest share of CPG video impressions are in CTV. It's an interesting conversation because we're hearing back, no, it's not. But if you dig into the online video buys and where those dollars are being placed, yes, it is, right? Shoppability and ROI are not going to be new terms. We've definitely heard them more often than not. And I'm going to talk to you about a couple of examples of how we're working with a few different CPG partners in that way. So what I'm not going to do today is present to you our entire CPG narrative and what that looks like. However, I'd love to follow up with you and show you not just the case studies of how we're working in the space of CPG, but also solving business problems. But this is really the filters of how we're thinking about how to set up the ad tech platform so that we are delivering your business back to you. And it works for clients of ours, like Clorox, who in Q1 of this year, super important time, right? They're launching, COVID's happening for sure, wipes are out there. They need to be spot on with every dollar they've got. The average shelf life for wipes is 37 seconds. So they need to be very, very specific and careful on the personalization of those ads, but also delivering it and then measuring it on the back end. And it's not just Clorox that we've been working with. Mondelez is a partnership that we've been building over the course of the last year. We were named their global DCO omni-channel provider late last year. Molson Coors had very specific issues that they wanted to dig into in the area of ROI. With another provider, they weren't getting log-level data, right? Or being very specific in the impressions that they were getting. They didn't have the granularity that they needed, but they needed a partner that was independent that could work with their ROI provider, IRI, to then get to a better view of ROI. We'll try to throw another acronym into that sentence. All right, pull out the phones. First, CPG marketer. 2, snap this code and tell me what is the percent lift that GSK Consumer Healthcare received as a result of adding personalization into their campaign. Meanwhile, let's hear some guesses. 5%. 20%, right there, raise your hand. That's you. Bingo, done, nailed it. So the QR code will take you to the case study. You can read more about it. I absolutely will be around the next 3 days and can tell you more too. And the last piece to just close with is, even though most of you probably know Innovid as an ad server, and that absolutely is the base of our business for sure. A couple of years ago, we did acquire a company to pull in ad personalization, and you look at where not just an acquisition to happen, but then where are you gonna take it? We're #1 from the Forrester rankings and what that looks like in terms of competing with our competition. And the third area really being around measurement. So a couple of months ago, the acquisition of TV Squared was finalized. We were just talking about this. And what this means for you guys is that this actually pulls linear and CTV into one consolidated view. So now you can begin to take a look, not just at linear, not just at CTV, but actually in an aggregated view with the level of granularity that you're gonna want in the CTV space. Within the roadmap, there is absolutely a vision for mobile, desktop, and online video to be added into that. So I wanna be very mindful of time, but at the same time, great to meet you all. Very glad to be talking about the larger theme of transformation. And the ask is, just keep in the back of your head, what is the current ad tech that you've got? And is it able to enable all the things you want to do in the marketplace today? Thank you.